It's 4 o'clock, so we shall get started. So I declare the February Ordinary Council meeting open, and I welcome councillor staff and all the community members that are in the gallery. We've got Rose there from the media, welcome, and anyone that's viewing online. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer recommendation stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming of these proceedings and uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities, their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Procedural motion. I put forth that Council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5, members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking, to improve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder for that, Councillor Coleman? Thank you. I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, I'll move on to record of apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Bromham has requested to attend this ordinary council meeting electronically in accordance with Regulation 14C 2B of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. I have approved this request and I'm satisfied that the location from which Councillor Bromham intends to attend the meeting and the equipment that he intends to use to attend the meeting is suitable for the member to be able to effectively engage in deliberations and communications during the meeting as per Regulation 14C5 and 14D6 of the regulations. Councillor Bromham, can you hear us okay?
Loud and clear.
Thank you and welcome. Leave of absence. I have an approved leave of absence from Councillor Holly and an apology from, correction and a leave of absence from Councillor McCarthy. I'll move now on to applications for leave of absence, and I am requesting myself a leave of absence from the 23rd of March. It's not a Monday, that should be a Wednesday, I'm hoping.
No, the 23rd is coming. 23rd is a Monday. So.
Oh, correction, that'll be from the 25th of March. So, councillors, I'm applying for a leave of absence from Wednesday the 25th of March through to Friday the 27th of March inclusive. Do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Coleman. A seconder? Councillor Morley. Any discussion? We'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? And I can't see Councillor Bromham. He voted for that?
Yes.
Okay, so that is carried.
We've got Councillor McCarthy online now.
Alrighty. All right, I'm just going back. Please bear with me. I now have Councillor McCarthy, who has requested to attend this ordinary council meeting electronically. So in accordance with the Regulation 14C2B of the Local Government Administration Regs 1996, I have approved this request, and I'm satisfied that the location from which Councillor McCarthy intends to attend the meeting and the equipment that the member intends to use to attend the meeting is suitable for the member to be able to effectively engage in deliberations and communications during the meeting as per Regulation 14C5 and 14D6 of the regs. Councillor McCarthy, welcome. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, so welcome. So, councillors, we have now 2 councillors attending online. All righty. I will now go to a request for leave of absence from Councillor Dickinson for the period Friday the 29th of May through to Friday the 3rd of July 2026 inclusive. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Morley. Seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion? No, I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8. Yeah. Okay, we'll move through to declarations of members and officers' personal interests. We haven't received any that have been submitted. Are there any declarations, councillors? That is nil. Thank you. Questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. Response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. I'll now move into public question time. And we have 2. I'll just remind those coming forward to please state your name and address. A reminder that you're entitled to ask up to 2 questions before I will invite other members of the public to ask questions. I will allow individuals to preface a question with 1 or 2 introductory statements that establishes the context and the basis for that question, provided these statements are relevant and kept brief. With that in mind, I invite Mrs. Ferguson to come forward, please, with your question. Just turn the mic on there, Mrs. Ferguson. Thank you, and welcome, Mrs. Ferguson.
Thank you. Sheila Ferguson, Unit 4, 58 Old Coast Road, Australind. The CEO has informed me that I must ask each time for my questions and the background information to be recorded as I present them and not summarised as permitted by standing orders, and I now make that request. Firstly, concerning the possibility of Shire of Harvey becoming a city. In January 2021, when Councillor Bill Adams proposed initiating public consultation on changing the name of the Shire, officers estimated the cost to be, quote, well in excess of $500,000, unquote. The current feedback survey asks the question, quote, if the Shire of Harvey gained city status, would you be in favour of a name change, unquote. But no information on the implications or estimated cost of this is given. Firstly, what is the estimated cost now of changing the name of the Shire/city, and why wasn't this included in the information given to the public during this consultation period?
Mrs. Ferguson, I will take your first part of your question on notice. I will, the second part of the question, that information is certainly available on our Shire website. So if you go to the link, there's a frequently asked questions and a lot of information on the Shire website that relates to that particular question.
But it doesn't relate to the cost of changing the name.
I believe there is some information in relation to approximate cost, but we will take your specific question on notice and get and
sorry,
answer that.
The question, the FAQ gives information on the cost of changing to city status, but not on changing the name.
Okay, I'll take that one on notice, change of name. Thank you.
The second part of this question, the only advantage of city status that is given in the FAQ sheet is that, quote, we would have greater influence with state and federal government, unquote. What evidence is there to support this?
I'm happy to respond in relation to our current availability to state ministers, for example, when we're advocating on particular issues on behalf of the community. It is difficult for us to get access to state ministers, and they are certainly restricted on timing. For example, we advocated on water. That was an issue that came through the community meetings, and we were allocated 45 minutes with the minister, and we had to drive to Perth in order to have that meeting with the minister. So although there is no specific evidence that suggests we would get more time with state and federal ministers, through experiences of other local governments that have transitioned to city status, they have indicated that they are afforded more of an opportunity at the table to raise issues and advocate on behalf of their communities when they have achieved city status.
My second question concerns payments to the Glen Flood Group. At the electors' AGM, I asked about payments to the Glen Flood Group, partly because they appeared to relate to 4 vacant positions, the payments list referring to the Shire Executive, Asset Management, Acting Director and Shire Managerial positions. The response said the payments were to support 2 vacant positions. There have now been 3 further payments totalling over $30,000, bringing total payments to over $170,000. For what periods were each of these 2 positions vacant, and will there be any further payments for these positions?
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. We'll take that on notice if you can send that question through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask one further question to say?
I've just got another member, so I will ask them to come forward, Mrs. Ferguson, and if we have time, I'll come back to you for your
Thank you.
third
This is just to save me having to come up to Harvey again next month.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. Thank you. Mr. Nicholas, would you like to come forward? Thank you. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Madam President. First time on this side of the table for me.
There you go, and new experience for you. If you can just state your address. Thanks, John.
Yes, I'm living at 37 Tourmaline Ridge in Australind, which, for those of you who don't know, that's actually in Trindale. I notice very recently the City of Bunbury has respectfully advised its community that it's continuing with its Corella management program. And part of that program is about dispersing Corellas from Bunbury. And it seems to me that they've been rather successful in this part of their process, because we, particularly around Trindale, appear to be inundated with these birds. And I'm just wondering, I guess I have a 2-part question. Firstly, does the Shire of Harvey have a similar management program? And if not, does the Shire of Harvey intend to develop such a program for dealing with this Category 3 biosecurity pest?
Thank you, John. I'll put that through to Mr. Hughes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Nichols, for your question. So I can answer in response. We are in the process of going through a pest control management program. So we have engaged the pest controller. Our expectations is a program will be put together. We will be reaching out to the likes of the City of Bunbury to find out what has worked there. We do have a target site proposed for Trindale, which is under review, obviously, by the pest controller. But on top of that, we are looking for the pest controller to come in and present to council as well. So it is all in progress.
Good, thank you. Let's hope we have some successful results with it. My second question is one more to do with cooperation, Shire's cooperation with, I'm guessing, the police force. Where I live in Trindale on Tourmaline Ridge, as probably most of you know, there's a very long, elongated park that runs along there, which I believe is under management of the Shire of Harvey. And for at least the last 6 months, but probably a little bit longer than that, we've been continually pestered with riders of trail bikes, burning up and down the park, riding on the footpaths, sometimes on the roads, but mostly in the park. I'm just concerned that somebody's going to get severely injured by one of these bikes. These are fully blown bikes, probably driving at somewhere between 60 and 80 k's an hour, sometimes in the dark or in the twilight, particularly at this time of year. So my question is about whether the Shire of Harvey is able to work with the local police to see whether in fact we can do something about mitigating that problem. I'm sure it can't be totally eradicated, but I think it needs to be mitigated. The park is used by children, it's used by people that walk regularly, and more particularly it's used by kids going to school, particularly those coming home at night when these bikes seem to be more prevalent.
Yeah. CEO, do you want to respond to that one? Through to...
Thanks, Madam President. Yes, we can liaise with the police. Obviously, I can't answer directly right now on what's actually happening, but I'll engage with my manager of safety services and we'll take this up with the Rangers and the police and we'll find out what we can do about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
That is a regular conversation that we have with our police, so it
Yeah.
has been raised. It's come through the community meetings as well, John, so
Good,
they are
yeah.
certainly aware of it.
Yeah.
I suppose it's just capturing that historical data of times and days. And, is it
Trying-
more prevalent on a Sunday afternoon or something like that?
Trying to be there when they're there is the biggest
Yeah,
problem, and
that
I don't feel like going out there and trying to
Engage
make a
with them, you
citizen's
don't want
arrest
to.
because I think
Yeah.
there could be repercussions built into that.
Yeah.
I have spoken to the ranger and I have spoken to the police previously. The ranger was very positive in his approach and very positive in his actions. Police, I couldn't say the same for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs Ferguson, would you like to come forward? Okay, I'll take your question then. Suzanne? If you could just state your name and address, thank you.
Yes, Suzanne Taylor-Rees, Lake Preston Road in Mylup. I've just been advised there was an addendum to the officer comments, which I've only just been notified of. I did look for them, but they're in a difficult spot to find. Anyway, so my questions are relating to the officer's recommendation, item 12.1.2. Notes the notice of motion, and I'll just read his comment. The proposed offshore wind project is currently in the feasibility licence phase, which is expected to run for up to 7 years. No construction activities have begun, and therefore no impacts or potential breaches of the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999 can be identified or reported at this time. Yet, as I spoke at the agenda briefing, the feasibility stage can and most likely will cause detrimental impact to the marine environment, and this is referenced by the federal government itself, which states geophysical investigations for offshore renewables use different types of survey methods with much lower sound levels and lower, but definitely potential for environmental impact. So I'm a little disappointed and want to know why the officer stated that there are no impacts or potential breaches when the federal government has clearly stated that there is. That's my first question.
That officer comment has been collated by staff, and as of the current date, there has been no contravention of the Act that was stated in your notice of motion, and hence the officer's comment reflects that.
But it says no impacts or potential breaches. I understand that, but feasibility studies are imminent. So, and the government has stated that there will be environmental impact or potential for environmental impact. So I'm struggling to see how the officer can dismiss concerns when the government states that there will be. I'm only asking, you know, for the motion, and that's what it addressed, and the officer is ignoring that, and I did give that information last week.
I note that you're giving another deputation, Suzanne, today, so maybe you can, if you want to flesh that out a bit further, and then that will be up to debate by council today.
Okay, all right, and my second question is also with regards to this officer's comments on the same item number. The submission from 2024, which you gave me last week, is to be noted, and then the Shire will continue. Regulation for offshore wind proposal rests with the Federal Government's Department on Climate Change, Energy and Environment and Water. Any concerns about compliance or environmental obligations are assessed by this authority. The Shire will continue to advocate for strong, transparent processes and will seek representation on the Bunbury wind industry, blah, 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 blah. So we're noting this submission, which was from 2024, which includes a letter from April and then August. The submission's now irrelevant. Like, that submission refers to proponents that have now pulled out. The size of the area that has been approved has been reduced. There's new proponents. So why would we note a submission from 2024 when it's clearly moved on and we're now in the feasibility stages? Because that submission does not address the point in time we're at the moment.
CEO?
Yeah, look, the officer's recommendation for the actual motion is to write to the Honourable Chris Bowen and the department to reiterate the matters raised in the submission. So we're not going word for word in what was provided through in the submission. We've raised environmental concerns, we've raised social concerns, we've also had requests for proponents for their on-ground infrastructure to come through to a common point, and also for undergrounding the transmission lines through the Shire's land. So they are the key points that we will be reiterating if this motion is raised.
So
not
it
all
will
of
be
the elements that have come through in that submission, it's the key points.
Okay, so it will be updated to include relevant situation at the moment.
Yeah, it definitely won't be a cut and paste
Okay.
exactly what was there, but it is
Yep.
those key points that were raised in that submission.
Was there a response received?
No.
There was no response. So can the Shire ask for a response this time rather than just stating a position? Can we ask for a response or demand a response as being the key stakeholder?
We can request a response, and the officer's recommendation is request that these matters be fully addressed during the feasibility stage. So that, and also seeking membership, it will be a request that there is a response to the matters raised.
Okay. The feasibility stage does last for 7 years though, so they may not respond for...
In a timely fashion.
Yes, thank
I'll
you.
see you back at deputation. Thanks, Suzanne. Mrs Ferguson, please come forward with one question. Thank you.
Thank you. It is nearly 2 years since Council voted in March 2024 to request the CEO to convert the Australind Council chamber to office space. What progress has been made since this motion was passed almost 2 years ago towards the conversion of the Australind Council chamber to office space and the return of alternate council meetings and agenda briefings to Australind?
The council chambers have been converted temporarily into office accommodation. So that has been completed and staff are in that area. In regards to planning for the Australind office expansion, that is a budgeted amount in the Shire's budget. A consultation has been undertaken with staff and councillors in regards to the amenity and the footprint of that future expansion project, and councillors have reiterated the reinstatement of council chambers either in the previous location or in an alternative footprint as part of that office expansion. So that project is progressing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the gallery? Okay, we will move on to petitions, deputations and presentations. So Mrs Ferguson, before you sit down, you have a deputation. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to make 4 brief comments about Officer Recommendation 4 in item 12.1.2 Annual General Electors Meeting, which relates to reporting on the Walga Convention, and if it is not prohibited by the Local Government Act or regulations, I request that my deputation be published in the minutes. I will provide an electronic copy so there will be no extra work for staff. I will not be repeating what I said in proposing this motion at the AGM. I hope what I say will persuade you not to follow the officer recommendation, but to approve the motion that was carried by an overwhelming majority at the electors' AGM. 1. The vote in favour of the motion at the electors' AGM was 44-2. All members of the public and all but 2 councillors voted in favour. 2. The officer comment presents no new information. It was all included in my statement proposing the motion. 3. It was apparent from the applause and comments from the gallery that there is strong public interest in this. I had not rustled up support, I don't use social media, and knew only 2 or 3 people in the gallery. 4. Point 3 of the officer recommendation states, quote, "The information is publicly available on the Walga website," unquote. To my knowledge, the information requested in the motion is not available to the public on Walga's website. I hope you will vote for the motion that was supported unanimously by members of the public and by a large majority of councillors at the electors' AGM. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs Ferguson. Suzanne, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Thank you again. Okay. Thanks again for your time. I've spoken at length on this, so I'll try and keep it brief. At the agenda briefing last week, I addressed the officers' comments to the motions I moved at the electors' meeting. As we discussed, there is much the Shire of Harvey can do in this arena by specifically addressing the concerns of residents to the state and federal governments. I do note that the Shire of Harvey wrote to Chris Bowen and the Senate Standing Committees on the Environment and Communications in May and August of 2024. As I just stated previously in my question time, we're now in 2026 and the feasibility licences have been given. This is the approvals process for the feasibilities licence. The show just keeps on rolling. You know, you think 7 years is a long way away. Well, we're already 2 years in now. So, and I'm just going to read from the approvals process. It says these activities, which is the feasibility studies, include early stage field studies, investigations and surveys that inform the feasibility of these commercial scale projects. It is a proponent's, and that's key here, it's a proponent's responsibility to undertake a self-assessment to decide whether a proposed project is likely to have significant impact on matters of national and environmental significance. So we've got the proponents, which are Spanish and French, undertaking a self-assessment to tell us if they are matters of environmental significance. I mean, that just beggars belief, putting the fox in charge of the hen house. And that's why I ask you, please don't shirk your responsibility and say, oh, it's a federal government issue or it's a state government issue. They're not doing their due diligence, clearly, if they are getting the proponents from another country to advise us. anyways. It's clear the Shire of Harvey have many concerns regarding a power plant in Geograph Bay, and the federal government has disrespectfully not addressed these by not giving a response in 2024. And that is disrespectful. We are a stakeholder in this. It's completely disrespectful. We need responses, not silence or lip service. We in Harvey and our ocean will be impacted. So they do have to respond to us. There's no two ways about it. Therefore, it's with the Shire of Harvey's own words foremost, and I'll read it. It states, the Shire will continue to advocate to the federal government through feasibility and assessment stage, with a position to giving the highest regard to environmental and sustainability impacts of the project and the effects on the Shire of Harvey. If the Shire is going to this effort, we deserve to have a response, and there should be no reason why we don't get one. The feasibility stage can and most likely will cause detrimental impact to the marine environment. As I stated previously, the government states geophysical investigations for offshore renewables use different types of survey methods with much lower sound levels and lower, but definitely potential for environmental impact. The officer's comment states allegations of non-compliance should be referred to the federal government departments responsible. Well, I commend you all tonight to ensure that this happens and the Shire of Harvey addresses this. Further to this, the Shire of Harvey should not advocate for a position on the Bunbury Wind Industry Committee. It must be demanded. We are major stakeholders. We stand to be impacted the most and we stand to lose the most. Can residents be assured this will happen and that you will defend our environment as you state? Which brings me back to my motion point 2. At last week's agenda briefing, it was noted the officer did not address this point and it was stated to be reviewed for comment. I have only just been alerted to this. And it states, the officer's comment, regarding the request for a moratorium, the Shire recognises community concerns about marine health. The state government's demersal fishing ban and the listing of jewfish as being at severe risk. While the Shire shares the community interest in protecting this local environment, it does not hold the regulatory powers over fisheries management or offshore approvals. These responsibilities lie with the State Department of Primary Industries and Regional Development, which are best placed to assess ecological risk. They've already assessed it. This is a simple request. They've assessed it because they've put a demersal ban in place. It's a simple request to actually support the government's demersal ban. They can't have it both ways. They can't say we want to put a power station out there and support it and then have a demersal ban because it's an at-risk species extinction level, as they state. I request elected members support this motion, which was also unanimously supported. And quite simply, we cannot have the federal government place a power station in the very ocean that the state government has deemed the endemic jewfish at severe risk and needing protection from extinction. So the officer's recommendation or comments is sidestepping the issue and clearly is not supporting this request. Well, I'm asking the elected members to support this. For those of you still here sitting on the fence regarding renewables as the be-all and end-all for our future, the scam that it is and the environmental destruction the so-called green energy causes, please be aware that Australia is the second largest exporter of coal in the world and is increasing its exports year on year to countries who use it for cheap energy to build things like solar panels and turbine blades laced with asbestos that we buy back. So don't think you can pat yourself on the back for supporting the net zero scam when no matter what renewables are installed here, the fossil fuel in Australia will be continued to be mined and sold at exponential levels. I commend you to do what you can to support these motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Leanne Peterson. Welcome, Leanne. If you can come forward, you right? Yep. If you can just flick that microphone on, that'd be wonderful. That's it. Over to you. Thank you, Leanne.
Okay. 1 minute. Thank you. Good afternoon, councillors. This is regarding my motion from the AGM regarding the Les Chenault Aquatic Facility. In the 2023, and I'm not sure how to pronounce the company, the Patash Group report made it very clear that the Les Chenault Leisure Centre has serious issues, particularly regarding safety, compliance, and proper facility management. This is an external company. You invested time in and money to get them to do this report. In February last year, you had a structural report done on the same facility. Unfortunately, it's unavailable to me unless I pay for it. Yet, 3 years after the report, the only tangible improvement has been the start of the HVAC system, which you quite clearly put into the paper after the AGM. No other safety or compliance issues have been meaningfully addressed, and this is not just a delay, it's a failure to act on clear recommendations, putting the community at risk. Residents deserve a facility that is safe, compliant, properly maintained, not one where progress is measured in minor steps year after year, where critical issues have been identified. According to the Shire's Sports and Recreation Plan of 2023, swimming participation at the Les Chenault Leisure Centre is 2,185 adults, 1,866 children. So it's over 4,000 weekly people attending this swimming centre. The court sport participation is approximately 483 adults and 1,200 children, which is 1,683 on average per week. This is not a ticking and filing issue. It's a matter of community safety, accessibility, accountability, and public trust. Parliamentary records, the Hansard records, confirm that the state government has acknowledged and funded LLC upgrades, including a total of 1.85 million in September 2023 for indoor court expansion, 0 for the pool, and no filings I can find on the Hansard report for anything to do with the aquatic facilities. The current spending on the HVAC system is 500K. It just doesn't add up when you've got that many people and schools at risk using that facility every day. Given the clear findings of the Patach report, the Hansard funding commitments for the courts and the AGM motion, how can the council justify leaving critical public safety, compliance and maintenance issues of the aquatic facility unresolved, simply because it is deemed too difficult or expensive to facilitate? It's not a good enough reason. I'll just get this up. In Parliament last year, Jodie Harns for the Collie Preston community spoke quite in detail on the funding of 18.5 million and mentioned there was a mention of how the Les Chenault Leisure Centre facilitates services not just for the Shire of Harvey but for regional areas surrounding it. You also had the Premier, whoever that was at the time, I presume it's Roger Cook. You had Robin Clark, who was the former member, and Jodie Hands attend the Les Chenault Leisure Centre and do a big updo on a presentation for 18.5 million for court expansion, when you've got double the amount of people using the aquatic facilities every week. My motion at the AGM was passed 49-0 with people supporting it, including the members here. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Can you just switch that microphone off, unless there's someone else that wishes to come up and give a deputation? No, thank you very much. All right, we'll move into confirmation of minutes. So we have an officer's recommendation in relation to the ordinary council meeting minutes held on the 27th of January. Do I have a mover for those minutes, please? Councillor Morley, thank you. Seconder? Councillor Coleman, thank you. Likely to be any discussion, councillors? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried 8-0. Also, receipt of minutes and recommendations from committees. We have the Audit Committee meeting, which was held on Tuesday, the 13th of January. Got an officer's recommendation here that they be received. Do I have a mover for the audit minutes? Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. A seconder? Councillor Carboni. Any discussion? I'll put that one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Carried 8-0. We'll now move into the officers' reports. 12.1.1, which is the lease agreement for the Brunswick Tennis Club. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one, please, councillors? Councillor Carboni, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any discussion, Councillor Carboni? Councillor Coleman? Any questions, councillors? I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you, councillors. Alrighty, we will move into 12.1.2, which is the motions from the annual general electors meeting. As I said, we will move through each motion, so we will deal with the officer's recommendation 1 of 6. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one, please, councillors? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder is Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak?
No, I do thank the community for their input, and I do believe that the issues with the Leisure Leisure Centre will be addressed as part of the budgetary process. So I believe that this is the correct way to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor McCarthy as a seconder, did you wish to speak?
And I concur with Councillor Dickinson. Thank you.
Any other comments, councillors? No, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. I'll move on to 2 of 6 in relation to the SCA 6C. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Carboni, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Bromham. Likely to be any discussion, councillors? No, Councillor Bromham? No, I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor McCarthy, thank you. Carried 8-0. Alrighty, we'll now move into, have I missed one? I'm up to 3. Thank you. All right, officer's recommendation 3 of 6. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? If I don't have a mover, it will lapse. Lapsed. Thank you very much, councillors. I'll move on to officer's recommendation 4 of 6. I believe we have an amendment for this one. Councillor Coleman. Thank you. I'll get a mover first for this one. Can I have a mover? Councillor Coleman, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Coleman, did you want to talk to your amendment for this one? Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. Whilst it may have come across that it was an imposition for staff to provide more in-depth reporting about the Walga Convention, each councillor at the moment has the ability to provide details of their meetings and functions that they've attended on a regular basis. So whilst that's somewhat voluntary, I think that this motion strengthens that at the end of a Walga Convention, which is paid for by ratepayers' money, we can in fact say that who went and basically, what we got out of it in terms of who we met. It's very, very valuable for councillors. It's very, very valuable for council decisions going forward. But I also think that it's valuable for the community to understand just how valuable that is.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for this amendment? Councillor Morley, thank you. Councillor Coleman, you've actually addressed, debated your amendment, so thank you very much. Unless you wanted to add anything further.
All I want to add is that all we have to do is provide a couple of extra lines on our existing report. It's not onerous. I'm not suggesting that we write paragraphs, just that we actually mandate that this particular report does go in at the end of a Walgett conference within perhaps 2 months.
Councillor Morley is the seconder. Do you wish to speak? No? Okay. Is there any further debate around this one amendment, councillors? So I'm just confirming that it's paragraph 2 that you're amending yeah, so take out what's in there and replace with the amendment. Alrighty. No further discussion, councillors. We'll put this, just purely the amendment, to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against. 2 against. The amendment is 1. So that will be part of the substantive. So I will go back to Councillor Coleman as mover now for the substantive. Did you wish to speak any further on the substantive motion?
Not really, other than it just justifies ratepayers' money and their faith in us to provide feedback in the interest of transparency.
Councillor Dickinson as the seconder. Nothing further. Any further comments, councillors? Alrighty, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? 1 against. Carried. 7-1. Thank you. I'll move now on to the officer's recommendation for 5 of 6, and councillors note that there is an addendum to the original officer's recommendation. So do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Coleman. Thank you. Councillor Dickinson, would you wish to speak?
Thank you, and I would just like to thank the community member for bringing this up. But even though this is not one of our projects, it is something that we can still promote our community's views on, and so I believe that this will address those issues, and when the time comes we will be able to make a more informed advocacy role in the ongoing process that's involved.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Coleman, did you wish to speak as a seconder?
I concur with Councillor Dickinson. It's beyond me how we can create more or less conservation in the interests of creating more conservation by default. So I back up Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Is there any other comments, councillors, in relation to this one? No? We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Against? None. This is carried. 8-0. Thank you. And the last one, 6 of 6. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Carboni, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Bromham. Councillor Carboni, you wish to speak? Okay, Councillor Bromham, did you wish to speak as a seconder? No. Any discussion, councillors? No. We'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. 8-0. Thank you, councillors. We got through that one. Infrastructure services is nil. We'll now move on to sustainable development, 12.3.1, which is the economic development strategy. There was an addendum that was uploaded in relation to the officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Morley, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Bromham. Councillor Morley, you wish to speak? Councillor Bromham, did you wish to speak? No. Any discussion, councillors? No. I'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8-0. Corporate Services 12.4.1, payments for January 2026. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Morley, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Just a query, Madam President. With the vehicles that we're purchasing, how many of those are electric vehicles?
None. We are purchasing hybrids on a case-by-case basis, but none are fully electric.
All right, no further questions, councillors. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. 8-0. 12.4.2, which is the financial statements as at the 31st of January 2026. Do I have a mover for this one, please, councillors? Councillor Morley, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Bromham, thank you. Any discussion? Let's put this one to the vote. Thanks, councillors. All those in favour? Carried. 8-0. Thank you. We'll move on to Community and Lifestyle, 12.5.1, which is the Reconciliation Action Plan. Do I have a mover for this one, councillors? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Morley, thank you. Councillor Dickinson, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, yes, and I would just like to commend staff for all the work that they have done in compiling this and all the engagement that has taken place in order to bring this draft to us. So I think this is really good to see it progress. It's only part of the program, I believe, but it's a significant part that we will be able to use to the benefit of the greater community.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Morley, the seconder.
Through the chair, I'm just going to reiterate something I said once before, that I think if reconciliation is done properly, it's not about statements or ceremonies. It's about relationships, trust and engagement. In saying that, it's got to be real, not performative, and it must be local, accountable and measurable. So I do support the adoption of the reconciliation plan and commend it to the rest of the councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Is there any speaker against? Councillor Carboni.
Thank you, Madam President. And as I did last meeting, I'll speak against this, but not go into the detail that I did of last week. Of course, I'll touch on the deputation last week from the disgruntled former councillor Amanda Lovett, JP. And she should know better than anyone else, as someone who's served for 12 years on council, that I have a right to express my opinion, and people can agree with it or disagree with it. It doesn't matter. I still have that right. And while we're on the former disgruntled councillor, I might remind her of the Justices of Peace Code of Conduct, seem as though she pointed out mine last week in her deputation, and in the general behaviour of her code of conduct as a JP.
I'll just call a point of order there, Councillor Carboni. So if we can just go back onto the Reconciliation Action Plan and not raise
Well, she questioned my code of conduct. I can't question hers.
Thank you. I prefer not that we just debate the Reconciliation Action Plan and not particular actions by members of the community. Thank you, Councillor Carboni. All
right, well, I'll have to write to the Chief Justice, as I have done before, with regards to her code of conduct. Now, quite simply, I don't agree, and I think the majority of the population of the Shire of Harvey don't agree with certain things that are in this RAP. One, the dual naming or the renaming of streets and landmarks like Stirling Cottage. I think the general public, the general ratepayers would be quite upset that they might know that, like, Town of Brunswick or Stirling's Cottage or Sir James Ave might have an Aboriginal name placed on it, because that's what it says in the RAP plan that we're going to support. I'm sick of the acknowledgement of country, and I think the majority of Australians are now. There's Aboriginal people saying that it's overdone. It was mentioned here at the last meeting that the people that perform it for us at the Harvey Shire look out at the audience and see people drop their shoulders and give out a sigh because it's just been overdone, overcooked. The Aboriginal flags. I campaign on one flag, and it sickens me to see so many flags when the Prime Minister gets up and stands and talks on TV and he's got all these flags behind him. We should be a nation of one flag, united behind one flag. And cultural awareness training, that's also in this wrap. Well, I don't want to learn their culture. Are they going to learn mine? Are they going to learn to make Italian sausages and tomato sauce? They're only a minority of the population, 2.8% in the Harvey Shire. So I have no intention of doing cultural awareness training, and I don't think anyone else here should. I don't feel a need to feel guilty of injustices of the past, and that's what I'm made to feel when I hear some of these welcome to countries. Now, I sent you all an email after the last meeting about the unintended consequences of these reconciliation action plans, and I showed you a case example not even 2 days after the last meeting in the Dardanup Shire where they give weighting in their tenders to 5% if you employ an Aboriginal person and 5% if you use Aboriginal business. And I showed you in that email how that kicked out the local contractor and gave preference to multinationals or Perth companies. Obviously, your small contractors who do your footpaths or drainage that have difficulty in proving or providing evidence that they work with Aboriginal businesses or they've got a limited ability to employ Aboriginal people from small towns in our shire. So it puts these multinationals at an advantage over your local contractors. This is about optics without delivering real outcomes. And I take Councillor Morley's point about that he wants to see real outcomes. How are we going to measure that? What are the KPIs we're going to see in this? I can't see how we can make one iota of difference. This is about being symbolic rather than substantive. It's tokenism, it's virtue signalling. Reconciliation should be action-driven, not policy-driven. We should be directing our limited resources to core services. Organisations such as ours, such as the Shire, can support Indigenous people through direct service delivery. Indeed, that's what they said. That's what they told you. Through employment, just by simply employing them if they're the best people for the job, or through community partnerships without formalising it in a wrap. Indeed, as I just said, some groups prefer tailored, localised engagement instead of a national framework. So I don't care what disgruntled former councillors or Nana Lee or the postcode bandits say. I'm entitled to my view. I think I represent the majority of the population here, and that's my view.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Is there any speaker for? I shall speak for the plan. Firstly, can I acknowledge Ethan Wright, our Aboriginal trainee, who has put a lot of work on this particular sensitive issue. So well done on putting the wrap together. And we will recall last week the discussion at the agenda briefing that the wrap provides a framework for council to work by, and it formalises the actions the Shire has been doing previous years. So it formalises and provides a framework for funding for particular events such as NAIDOC Week and the like. And it's not our first wrap, councillors. We were part of the Bunbury Geograph wrap, and I'll remind council that we endorsed the development of a reconciliation plan as part of our council plan last year. So staff are just actioning, not just, but they are actioning one of the objectives of our council plan. And I think it's disappointing that some of our Aboriginal community feel intimidated by council resolving to endorse a reconciliation plan. I think that's a sad indictment, but confident that it's the correct action for us to take. And this was reinforced through recent discussions with the stakeholders, in particular the Harvey Aboriginal Corporation, who represent a number of elders in our region. They want to see the reconciliation plan and they support it. May I say that through these recent discussions, they have highlighted, they being the Aboriginal community, highlighted the cultural diversity within our region and the mechanisms that may be introduced by us to make even them more inclusive, which I think is a damn good outcome for this Reconciliation Action Plan. How terrific is it that this small minority group have concerns about the fallout from the community, yet still raise options and vision for us, for the Shire to put in place to look at all cultures within our very diverse region. I think that's a damn good outcome for this, if nothing else, from this Reconciliation Action Plan. And they have contributed great ideas that staff will take on board. So what a great outcome for this Reconciliation Action Plan. So I just want to remind councillors the purpose of this document is to provide a framework that formulates the expenditure in our budget and activities that council can provide and endorse and recognise on behalf of our Aboriginal communities. And most importantly, it does recognise this demographic within our community, whether they want it or not, whether they feel comfortable with it happening or not. They are accepting of it, and I think we should afford, I know, we should afford them the respect that recognises their history and their continued contribution to our very diverse community. So I support this RAP. Any speakers against? Councillor Coleman. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. I speak against this motion just for a couple of reasons. We're not in the city of Perth, we're not in suburbs or areas in Western Australia where relationships with our Aboriginal residents is not working. We're in the Shire of Harvey, a significant multicultural shire where I believe we have highly valued and great working relationships with all people, regardless of race, colour or creed. Our shire workers and our councillors work well and respectfully already with Aboriginal elders and Torres Strait Islander culture and heritage. We also work very well with our Italian, Greek, Filipino, Tonga and Fijian cultures. Given our excellent working relationship with all of our communities, I don't believe we need Reconciliation Australia to approve our working relationship with our Aboriginal community. It's cost us $10,000 to develop a plan that we're already doing. Then we need to report annually, and I note the report suggests we maintain $10,000 in the budget for this purpose, as well as the existing allocation of $5,000 for NAIDOC. Our Aboriginal community is just under 3%. Our Italian and Filipino communities represent significantly higher communities, yet the report recommends that we bypass our approved community grant program for the next 2 years to automatically allocate $2,000 to the Binar Futures Basketball Carnival and $5,000 to the Rugby WA NAIDOC tournament, in addition to the previously mentioned $15,000. I agree that these are totally worthwhile programs, and the report notes that these organisations already seek funding through the Community Grants Program. So rather than applying for funding like everybody else, the report suggests that we pay them automatically. Can I just check? Do we automatically fund the Italian Sausage Festival? And will we automatically fund the Filipino Festival that's under development? Because if we don't, we're reverse discriminating. I believe that the ongoing $10,000 per annum set aside for this Reconciliation and Action Plan is a waste of taxpayer money and staff time. I further reiterate that the Community Grant Program applications should stand. And I further reiterate that the working relationship we have with our Aboriginal people now, both within the Shire like Ethan and within the community, is excellent and does not need a $10,000 report.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any speaker for? Speaker against? Councillor Dickinson, right of reply, thank you.
Thank you. And I thank councillors for their views, and this is a challenging one for some councillors. I fully acknowledge that. I would just like to address a couple of points that have been brought up, and some of these points I've come across in my research in local history. For example, dual naming. If you go back to the old maps of the area, there's dual naming on those. There's sites that have been identified that have the Indigenous name as well as the colonial name. And those resources are actually being used by all parties now in research for going forwards. It seems to have been that the names have dropped off in more recent times, but that does not mean that we should not acknowledge or use those names. And I actually think that it is an opportunity where we can move forward and we can actually acknowledge our true surroundings. The acknowledgement of country, well, there's always going to be some people that disagree with that, but I believe that we should fully acknowledge all people in our community. And I have no problem whatsoever with the acknowledgement of council. I think it's a sign of respect for the people that are in the community. Flags are decided by the people of the country. That is a separate issue. It is not a local government issue, I don't believe. I don't have a problem with the Indigenous flag, the Torres Strait Islander flag. I wouldn't have a problem even if we flew the Filipino flag or the Italian flag. You know, we could have another flagpole that on occasions we fly the flags of our other diverse nationalities in our communities. But I think the cultural awareness training is a good thing for all of us. We should never give up the opportunity to learn more about any cultural group in our community, and especially in our Indigenous area. I grew up in this area. I grew up on the Collie River, and yet I never knew the Indigenous name of it. Why was that? I think that, you know, that I could never understand why was I, who was born and bred in this shire, why was I never told that until more recent times? You know, it's neglectful of us to not acknowledge our history, and that includes the history of the Indigenous people in our community. It's up to businesses to employ who they want, but there's opportunities out there to employ all sectors of the community. And I have been in an employment situation where I've had to employ people. That's an issue for each business to address. To deliver real outcomes, I actually believe that this RAP can deliver real outcomes. It gives us a formal process to help us, guide us. We have other strategies in place. This is another document that goes alongside all our other strategies. What's the difference? There is no difference. It is an informing strategy to guide us, for us to work with in engaging with the community, which we continually look at how we can improve our engagement in the community. This is part of that process. So, you know, as the Shire President said, we have already endorsed the development of this in our council plan. This is just another step of the process that we are working towards. And there's always room for improvement in our engagement across the community. We've heard that in our annual electors meeting. We hear that continually on social media. This is an avenue to assist with that. So, you know, I commend the staff, especially Ethan Wright, for the development of this RAP, the work that has been put into this. It's not an easy job to develop a strategy like this, but I fully endorse, and I hope that we can work with this to provide us with guidelines and move forward and have more engagement with our Indigenous community.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. All righty, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the joys of being the Shire President, I therefore have the casting vote, and I vote for the RAP, Reconciliation Plan. Thank you very much, councillors. Righty-ho. We now will move into the electors' meetings motions, of which previous notice has been given. And we have this one from Councillor Carboni. Do I have a mover for this one, please, councillors? Will obviously be Councillor Carboni. Yep, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Coleman. Thank you.
If I can, Madam President, in the item G, given its budget time, I'll move the June 2026, I'd move to September 2026.
Okay, is the seconder happy with that change? G? Yep, thank you, Councillor Carboni.
Thanks, Madam President. Look, not a lot more to add to this than what Mr Hart said last week in his deputation to council. Obviously, the Brunswick River Cottages has completed their stage 3 of their project, are in a pretty good position, and everything's sailing along pretty well at the moment. But obviously they're looking to the future and want to secure land going forward into the future, and they've identified these two areas in the Brunswick town site where they think which will be valuable to them and may be able to do something with into the future. They fully realise that the Shire's in a financial, well, sorry, that's the wrong words, that I was going to say predicament, but we're not. That finances are tight with all the projects that are on the go at the moment. So they're quite happy to secure this land and then go through funding sources or seek funding sources through their own channels. So on that, I commend the Brunswick River Cottages for the foresight, what they want to do to increase the independent living of aged people in our area, and I put the motion forward on that basis.
Thank you. Councillor Coleman, as seconder.
Thanks, Madam President. And I'm just wondering if Councillor Carboni would consider not drastically altering the motion. However, points D, E and F. D, they'll seek funding for the state and federal governments. There's no obligation on our Shire to assist with that at this stage, so I'm not sure whether that needs to be in our motion for your consideration, Councillor Carboni. And point E, establish a Shire of Harvey working group. They have a tremendous committee already, and I would be a little worried about upsetting that particular dynamics of that group with all the experience on it. So I'm just wondering if D, E and therefore F is actually necessary in this motion, Councillor Carboni. I would fully support the motion if they were perhaps removed without any detriment to the motion itself. So
I would suggest, though, Councillor Coleman, if I do step in, just seek governance, I would suggest that's a significant shift, change. Yeah, that will move, if you want to pursue that as an amendment to the original notice of motion.
Yeah, okay, I'd be happy to move that amendment
So we'll
based on the fact that they're going to seek the funding themselves, they've got their own working group, and they don't need to call for nominations for a group. So I'd be happy to move that amendment if Councillor Carboni is happy with that as well.
I'll seek a seconder for that amendment.
Okay.
We'll deal specifically with that amendment, just one.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so the amendment is to remove para Delta, Echo and Foxtrot, DEF, out of the officer's recommendation, or Councillor Carboni's notice of motion.
Sorry, my mistake, sort of E and F
E
are
and
the
F.
ones, yeah, because they're going to seek their own funding, but E and F, establish the Shire of Harvey Working Group, they've already got their own established group.
So
Take out E and F would be the amendment.
okay.
Councillor Coleman, just the way that the notice of motion reads, it's the Chief Executive Officer to seek funding. So if you are saying the Brunswick River Cottages are going to undertake the funding themselves and applications, that would need to be removed as well.
Actually, which is what I had in the first place. So, yes, sorry,
We'll remain
President.
very flexible on this one.
Sorry, Madam President,
That's
CEO.
okay. D, E and F. Do I have a seconder for that one?
I'll second it there if it's Susan's passage through there.
Okay. That's all right. So, with that in mind, did you wish to say anything further in relation to that proposed amendment, Councillor Coleman? Think so? Councillor Caboni? No? All righty. Let's put this amendment to the vote. So that we are clear, it is taking out subpara D, E and F from the original notice of motion. Okay, let's vote on just that amendment, councillors. So all those in favour? Against is nil. So that amendment is carried. So let's put the substantive up as it reads now, please. All righty. Okay. Do I have a, where am I at now? A speaker against. I will foreshadow, just to make it interesting for the day, I wish to foreshadow an alternate. If I can put that one up, and I'll give you time to read. Okay, councillors, so I will speak against the current substantive motion, and that is my foreshadowed. First of all, Brunswick River Cottages are to be commended for the projects they've already delivered, and I admire their passion and their drive to address the affordable housing shortages, particularly in the Brunswick region, and sourcing the further opportunities to expand. However, I am concerned with the potential costs to the Shire. Now, it may not be in the lines of physically purchasing land, but there are costs associated with progressing the current notice of motion in relation to staffing resources, for example. And we received a briefing last week flagging concerns over anticipated costs with our current asset infrastructure. We're delivering significant projects both at LLC and Harvey Precinct, Stage 1. And I note with Mr Hart's deputation last week, the Brunswick River Committee's commitment to assisting with their members' skill set to progress this. But councillors, we've been down that path before with previous projects where we've utilised or community members with particular skill sets have stepped up to deliver projects and they've gone awry and we've had to step in. So I have some caution about that, but I don't want to detract from the skill set that the Brunswick River Committee members will come to the party with. I acknowledge the long-term model is designed to financially be self-sustaining and reducing the reliance on Shire funding. However, as Councillor Caboni mentioned, I would suggest that we are currently not in a position to financially assist with this initiative at the moment. And I talk about limited staffing resources our current significant projects that we're delivering on, and we need to prioritise the core projects that will come about through our asset audit. So my comments should not be interpreted as a lack of support for the initiatives of Brunswick River Cottage, but rather acknowledging the current staffing resources that are available to us to progress this project of this nature alongside with our current projects. Maybe it's a little bit ahead of time for us to be in a position to support it at this stage. So my foreshadow motion, acknowledges the work currently being undertaken and requests for the request from the Brunswick River Cottages to look at Talbot Road Reserve and lots 38 and 39 Reading Road. And it also addresses the establishment of a working group to look at independent living across the region. Now, we've received some commentary about the Shire not considering, Australind area for affordable housing and whatever. So this foreshadowed motion, if I can have it back up again, please. If we go down, does address the establishment of a Shire of Harvey working group to progress the establishment of independent living units within the Shire and nominate delegates from the council along with other potential partners and stakeholders, which include the Brunswick River Cottage Committee. So it is a change from specifically looking at Brunswick River Cottages, but it's addressing the whole independent living across the Shire. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Is there a speaker for the current substantive motion?
I seconded that, I think. Did I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaker against? Councillor Carboni, did you wish to finish? Right of reply?
Yes, thanks, Madam President. Look, I think I like this motion now in its current form. This has been a specific request from the Brunswick River Cottages to look at these blocks in Brunswick. We just voted in an amendment to get rid of the working group committee, which was won by majority. The only real difference now in the motion is the list for consideration of an allocation in the draft budget, and that doesn't have to be a whole lot of money. Look, I don't think the Brunswick River Committee are in a hurry. I think it's just a step forward, moving forward. So I don't think we're going to be faced with any significant costs, and I'm pretty sure we can chew gum and walk here at the same time. Work with the various projects that we've got on. But it just keeps that open dialogue going between the Shire and the Brunswick River Cottages Committee, and hopefully can bring this to fruition.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Okay, councillors, let's put this substantive motion to the vote. All those in favour? 2 against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 6. Okay. Righty-ho. So that substantive motion is lost. So we'll bring forward the foreshadowed motion, if we can have that one up, please. And I'll give you time again to read through this, councillors. Okay. Do I have a seconder for this one, please, councillors? Councillor Morley, thank you.
I would just request a small amendment instead of Brunswick River Cottages, say Brunswick River Cottages Incorporated. So it's not actually the committee, it's the incorporation.
Okay. CEO wants a small amendment to read administrative one, which reads Brunswick River Cottages.
So
Sorry,
to
CEO.
remove Brunswick River Cottages Committee in B and C and replace it with Brunswick River Cottages Inc. for incorporated for both of those. Thank you.
I'm happy with that. Councillor Morley, are you happy with that one as a seconder? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let me speak to this one. Thank you, councillors. I think I've said most of it. Listen, it still incorporates the request from Brunswick River Committee to look at Talbot Road and the 2 lots on Reading Street. It advises the Minister what we're already doing in regards to independent living units in Harvey. And if we can move down a bit, thank you, minute taker, down. Establish a Shire of Harvey working group to progress the establishment of independent living units within the Shire. Okay, and that will also allow stakeholders, including the Brunswick River Cottages Committee, to have representatives on this working group. So I believe it still achieves what Brunswick River Cottages were looking for, but it also addresses the conversation that's out there in relation to what are we doing down at Australind. Okay. Simple as that. Councillor Morley is the seconder. Did you wish to speak? Okay, thank you. Any speaker against this one? Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Thanks, Madam President. And look, I acknowledge the intent. However, my concern is, and having worked with the Brunswick River Cottages Committee, the reason that works so well is they know their cohort, they know their area. My concern is that we can have an established Harvey working group. Do they know, will that group be able to know Brunswick? Will they know Australind? Will they know Harvey? I would have thought that a working group per location would have been far more effective, having seen the Brunswick River Cottages working group, and therefore there wouldn't have been competing interests either. So I do understand the intent of your motion. I don't believe it will be anywhere near as effective as the Brunswick River Cottages Committee because of the location and their pertinent knowledge to the area. And I think it will dilute the intent across the board because, as you have rightly said, we have competing interests at the moment in projects. We have identified land in Brunswick that the Brunswick River Cottages Committee could progress with had we approved the previous motion, which we didn't. We have identified land in Harvey that we are progressing stages through. To my knowledge, we haven't yet identified land in Australind to be able to progress that. So realistically, without this Shire of Harvey working group unestablished until June, everything's dead in the water. So I guess I understand your intent, but I'd have to vote against this because I don't believe it's the most efficient way of operating.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Do I have a speaker for? A speaker against? Councillor Carboni.
Yes, like Councillor Coleman, especially item 2 there, what are the terms of reference of this working group? And I'm pretty sure that the Brunswick River Cottages Committee wouldn't want people from Harvey or Australind telling them what to do with their cottages in Brunswick. Now, I would suggest if Australind want living units out there, that maybe some of the people there, instead of forming a Facebook page to whinge about everything the Shire does, maybe get a committee together to build living units like Brunswick did. And obviously Harvey's well on the way with what we're doing at a Shire level with regards to the streets that are mentioned. We're well on the way to getting independent living units up here in Harvey. But I do have a problem with this working group, the powers of this working group, whether it's going to whether they're going to have influence over the Brunswick River Cottages or not, and vice versa. I can understand you want to tap into the experience and knowledge of maybe the people in the Brunswick River Cottages group, but you'd have to be very careful with the terms of this working group.
Speaker 4, Councillor Dickinson.
I actually am more comfortable with this proposal because we've got people in the community that focus on particular localities. That can be a strength and it can also be a weakness. I think that if we were to involve people from the different localities in the Shire, that would actually make this working group stronger because you are bringing the representation from the different localities in the Shire. You're still tapping into the expertise of the Brunswick River Cottages Inc. And we have not done this. We have not investigated an overall approach previously, so we actually don't know what other expertise is out there. This is an opportunity to address a concern that has been raised, as in the different localities in the Shire, what other land is available. We've been looking at Shire land for a number of years and seeing how we can best utilise it. And I actually think that this would present a better outcome because we can look at the land, we can see what else can be identified, we can see what models of accommodation best suits each locality, and we can draw on the expertise of the working group representatives that would be on this committee.
Thank you, Councillor Dickens. Speaker against? Speaker 4? Can you just wheel it up a bit? Up. Thank you. All right. No? Okay. Thank you, councillors, for your debate. I see that, I consider that in regards to Brunswick River Cottages Inc. intention about Talbot Road and lots 38 and 39 Reading Road, we're going to still progress that through with the Minister. So we're not taking away that option that the Brunswick River Cottages Committee have come forward to us, but if we go down a bit to the last bit, I think it's important that we do develop this working group and we have a more coordinated approach moving forward to meet the demands of all areas of the Shire. So I'm hoping that the Brunswick River Cottages Committee will put nominations forward for this working group, and I think most people, most areas will benefit from this moving forward. Having said that, I'll put this one to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against? Must be 6-2, is it? That is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll now move on to Councillor Bromham's notice of motion. I'm assuming, Councillor Bromham, that you are moving this one. Councillor Bromham?
Yes, I'm just unmuting myself.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder for this one, councillors? No seconder. Councillor Morley, thank you. Councillor Bromham, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that. Look, I've just brought this to council attention because I believe we need to look at exactly what we control and what we don't control. At present, the information I had from DAP the other day was $2,000. I think when the staff said $5,000 the other day.
I think we're talking millions, not thousands.
Yeah, I think, probably $2 million, sorry, 5 million. I think we just need to ensure that we have some control over the developments within the Shire. And I'd like to go to the Minister and ask them to readjust. It doesn't have to be to 20 million, but it gives us some leeway to ask the Minister to reassess how much it is he's going to allow before DAP and SAP take over from our local council.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. Councillor Morley is the seconder.
Yeah, I just concur with Councillor Bromham. I think this is a good idea if it comes through.
Thank you. Any speaker against? Councillor Caboni.
It's my day for it today. I've seen this from both sides of the fence. Obviously, I sit on the Development Assessment Panel for the Shire, and I've applied on many times to the Development Assessment Panel as a contractor for applications. Now, these development assessment panels were brought in essence, because shires were ruling on emotion instead of fact. They were blocking everything and nothing was getting through. The low threshold in the country is because there's very few things that are built over $20 million in a rural community, or in a rural or regional area, I should say. Very few things that are built over $20 million. In my time on the Development Assessment Panel from the Shire, I could probably name them all on one hand, the ones over $20 million. Now, you want to apply for an extraction licence with the Capel Shire and see how long it takes. I had one that went on for over 5 years, just couldn't get a decision out of them. I had to take it to the... In fact, I've taken 2 cases of extraction licence with the Capel Shire to DAP, so you could get a decision and you could get on and do business. That's what it is. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's $2 million threshold or a $20 million threshold. The Shire does a responsible authority report, and the staff look into it and put forward their recommendations. The only difference is that when a DAP has 2 members from council and 3 expert panel members, and those expert panel members obviously deal with it on its merits and on its facts without all emotion removed. So I don't support this. I like the threshold the way it is.
Thank you, Councillor Carboni. Any speaker for? Speaker against? A question, Councillor Coleman, yes.
Thanks, Madam President. So how many of our applications would be affected by this change, perhaps on a yearly basis?
Don't know that
We
one.
don't have that information at hand. Apologies.
We probably go to DAP 3 times a year, maybe, if that. Yeah. So if that's any indication on how many that we're called for. Alrighty. Any speaker? Where am I? I'll run with 4. Against? Councillor Bromham, over to you for right of reply.
Oh, good. Okay, so I understand Councillor Carboni's position in relation to business and moving it forward, but councillors should make decisions based on planning grounds only, and that's how council should work. Now, all I'm saying is it would be really good to move decision making back to the local government rather than state organisations that override us. I think that's a very poor way of governing people. And we've had lots of people lately, come up and ask why local government isn't doing this or isn't doing that, and telling us, they want us to represent them in relation to state and federal arguments. And all I'm saying, this would validate that, and also give us a position where the minister will make the decision to what amount it will be, whether it's 20 million or 10 million or 5 million. But the minister would make the decision at the end of the day to either pass or reject this idea. And I think we should support our communities and go forward and ask him to reassess.
Thank you, Councillor Bromham. On that note, let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour? 3, 4, 5. Against? 1, 2, 3. It is carried. Thank you, councillors. Alrighty, we have a notice of motion for the following meeting, and I must say, when I first read this one, Councillor Carboni said install a water fountain at the Brunswick swimming pool. So I had this vision of some sort of water fountain sitting in the middle of the Brunswick pool. So there is an amendment to that says water drinking fountain, just to clarify. I had no idea what Councillor Carboni had in his mind about a water fountain. Pardon? Yes. But we've clarified and confirmed he's actually after a water drinking fountain at the Brunswick swimming pool. Question, Councillor. Oh, we're not debating this one.
No.
Yep.
My understanding is that we don't have a swimming pool at Brunswick. That enables us to do testing 3 times a day and keep those records for X amount of time. I think we changed the wording to something
We did.
that our insurers were more accepting of. So I don't believe it's a swimming pool. If we could just check that
Brunswick.
administratively, please.
Yeah, we'll check that and change it administratively. So it is a drinking fountain that Councillor Carboni is after, not some beautiful water fountain in the middle of the Brunswick pool, or whatever we decide to call it. Thank you, councillors. Yeah, the bowling club, sorry, the bowling club. Yeah, he's speaking on behalf of the bowling club. All righty. Reports of members. I'm sure we'll put those through. If there are any additional ones, they will be captured in the minutes. But councillors, an opportunity to speak if you have done anything that's worthy of or you wish to raise in this forum. Councillor Carboni, thank you.
Sorry, you caught me with my mouth full, but I did send an email through to Craig. It was passed on to me from members of the LSA in Australind, that Shane Faber is an absolute delight to deal with. His passion for looking after the parks and grounds of the Shire is been duly noted, and I was asked to pass on their appreciation.
Well done, Deputy Shire President. I'm sure that will be passed on to Mr Faber. Thank you. Councillor Dickinson.
Yes, I'd just like to report that at the MWAC meeting, which is a Municipal Waste Advisory Council meeting, of which I'm a representative for the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council, there was a motion at that meeting that that advisory council gets wound up and it will become a committee for WALGA. And so there will be change. It's going to probably take place next financial year. So there's still going to be an avenue for advocacy for waste. It's just it's going to be in a less formal structure.
Thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Anything else, councillors? All right, we'll move on to new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting, which is nil. Matters behind closed doors, which is nil. There being no further business, I declare this meeting closed at 5:42 and thank everyone for their participation.